Senator Wu.
Thank you. Governor, you were at the bank IMF meetings recently, speaking to your colleagues around the world. What's the mood around international financial stability, particularly the risk of a debt crisis in the global south, countries that have a lot of US dollar debt and with the dollar value going up so high, interest rates going up as well. Is that risk increasing, and what are your thoughts on it?
Yes, there was quite a bit of discussion, as you'd expect, around the IMF table. That's what the IMF does, and so I would say two themes in the discussion. One was on a positive note that many emerging market countries, Brazil's, the Mexicos, they have done a good job of developing their own domestic debt markets, so they're less reliant on U.S. debt markets. They were also more proactive than many advanced countries in raising interest rates. I think certainly when you talk to them, I think they would say that they don't have the long history that we do of low stable inflation. They have more volatile economies. Their independence of their central banks is a lot newer. They don't have that history of credibility, and so when inflation went up, they moved pretty quickly to move interest rates up. So they've actually moved interest rates up ahead of most advanced countries. They're actually quite a bit higher than they are. So as the U.S. has raised rates, if the U.S. had been moving up ahead of them, it could have put more pressure on them. But the fact that they were actually ahead put them in a relatively better position. So that's the good news. I do want to get back to the pointy part of your questions. Are the risks going up? Yes, the risks are going up. There's two things. Financial conditions globally have tightened rapidly, and that's needed in many of our economies. But for particularly more vulnerable emerging market countries, in a more risk-off environment, they're seeing even larger tightening in financial conditions. There is some flight to quality going into particularly the U.S. economy. So you are seeing capital outflows. You are seeing some pullback. And then the other reality is that if you funded your debt in U.S. dollars, there's been a big appreciation of the U.S. dollar. So you've got a lot more money to pay back than you did. So that is certainly stressing some countries. You are seeing some smaller countries moving into default. And certainly the IMF is encouraging countries that could be in stressful situations to use the precautionary facilities. Don't wait until you don't have any options. Take action now. Use facilities while you've got some room to maneuver, and don't wait until you're out of options. So it is something that is certainly, that was the message from the IMF, and I think that was good advice.
Are we stepping up to try and help with some of these precautionary measures, swap lines, and other forms of precautionary?
Well,
support?
we have, so the IMF has capital at the moment. I think their view is they have sufficient. Canada, certainly historically, and I was quite involved in this in previous roles, has stepped up to when the IMF has asked its membership for capital contributions, so they have the capacity. Canada has stepped up, and I would say, look, more generally, Canada is really one of the strongest proponents of a rules-based, open, multilateral trading system, and the IMF is really one of the pillars, along with the World Trade Organization, the World Bank, of that system, and so yes, I think we're big supporters. Canada just had its Article 4 about a month ago, and when the IMF came to us and had some advice, certainly what I told them is, look, I'm glad you're doing this. Sometimes we don't like all your advice, but is really important. You do this, and let's make sure you go and hold everybody to a high standard. That's good for the whole system.